In the vast emptiness of space, the research vessel Horizon drifted quietly near the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Jay Park stood by the observation window, his dark eyes scanning the endless darkness. The ship's sensors hummed softly, collecting data from the surrounding cosmic debris. A small signal flickered on the main console. Dr. Hai Kim leaned forward, her fingers dancing across the holographic display. "Something's different," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. The artifact they had recovered from the Martian dig site seemed to pulse with an unusual energy. The object was unlike anything they had seen before. Roughly the size of a human hand, it appeared to be made of a metallic substance that defied current scientific understanding. Its surface shimmered with intricate patterns that seemed to move when no one was looking directly at them. Captain Song Wong entered the research lab, his military background evident in every measured step. "Report," he commanded, but there was a curiosity in his voice that betrayed his scientific interest. Jay carefully placed the artifact under a quantum scanner. The readings were impossible. Quantum signatures that shouldn't exist danced across the screen. Lines of code seemed to write and rewrite themselves, creating complex patterns that made no sense to human understanding. "It's responding," Hai muttered, her hand hovering over the scanning equipment. But to what? The ship's communication system crackled to life. An incoming transmission, but not from Earth. The language was unlike anything in human records, a complex series of mathematical equations and sonic frequencies that seemed to bypass traditional communication methods. Outside the ship's hull, space itself seemed to ripple. Small distortions appeared and disappeared like waves on an invisible ocean. Captain Wong frowned. "Track the source," he ordered the ship's AI system. But before anyone could respond, the artifact began to change. Its surface split into intricate, geometric patterns, each section moving with a precision that suggested something more than mere mechanical design. Jay watched in fascination as microscopic circuits within the artifact began to activate. They weren't just circuits, they were something more. Living technology that responded to quantum-level interactions. "We're detecting massive energy buildup," the ship's AI announced in a calm voice. "Source, unknown." The artifact suddenly projected a holographic map, but this was no ordinary star chart. It showed pathways between star systems, hidden routes that no human exploration had ever discovered, complex networks of travel that suggested an intelligence far beyond current human understanding. Hai's hands shook as she tried to document everything. "This isn't just a map," she whispered. "It's a key to something much larger." Captain Wong understood immediately. This wasn't just a scientific discovery. This was potentially the most important find in human history. The ship's sensors began to detect unusual gravitational shifts. Something was coming. Something big. In the darkness of space, something was watching. The artifact continued to pulse, its internal mechanisms working on a level beyond human comprehension. It was waiting, preparing. Humanity had no idea what was about to begin. The Horizon continued its silent journey, carrying with it a secret that would change everything. The artifact remained quiet, its true purpose hidden behind layers of quantum complexity that no human mind could yet understand. Outside, space continued its endless dance. Stars burned, galaxies spun, and something ancient stirred, awakening after millennia of silence. The alien ship appeared without warning. Its massive hull blocked out entire sections of star-filled space, casting a shadow that dwarfed the human research vessel Horizon. Captain Sung Wong watched through the observation window, his hands clasped behind his back. "Incoming transmission," the ship's AI announced. The communication was harsh, filled with mathematical precision and cold calculation. A voice that sounded like grinding metal and electrical interference spoke directly into their communication. "Systems. Human vessel, you are in restricted space. Your presence is unauthorized. Prepare for immediate removal." Jay Park and Hai Kim exchanged worried glances. The alien vessel was unlike anything they had ever seen. Its design seemed to shift and change, as if the very metal of the ship was alive and breathing. Captain Wong's voice remained calm. "This is Captain Sung Wong of the Earth research vessel Horizon. We are on a peaceful scientific mission." The response was immediate and brutal. "Peaceful? Your species is classified as Level 0 technological development. You are not permitted to explore beyond your solar boundaries." The artifact they had discovered earlier began to pulse. Its internal circuits seemed to react to the alien communication, creating strange interference patterns that disrupted the ship's systems. Suddenly, holographic projections appeared throughout the Horizon's bridge. They showed detailed scans of human civilization, cities, technology, military installations. Each image was accompanied by dismissive statistical analysis that reduced human achievements to mere primitive attempts at progress. "Your technological capabilities are insufficient," the alien voice continued. "You will be contained. Your exploration ends here." Jay noticed something strange happening with the artifact. Its quantum circuits were creating a complex shield around the ship, invisible to normal sensors but definitely present. The alien vessel began to charge weapons. Energy signatures built up along its hull, creating devastating patterns of destruction that could obliterate the Horizon in seconds. But something was different. The artifact seemed to be communicating back, sending out quantum signals that the aliens did not expect. Captain Wong remained absolutely still. "We are not asking for permission," he said quietly. The alien ship hesitated. For the first time, there was a moment of uncertainty in its communication. The artifact's quantum circuits began to expand. They created a protective bubble around the Horizon, absorbing and redirecting the alien ship's initial energy attack. "Impossible," the alien communication stuttered. Hai's fingers flew across the control panel. "They don't understand," she whispered. "They think we're just another primitive species to be controlled." The Horizon systems began to change. The artifact was upgrading their technology in real time, providing defensive capabilities that should not have been possible. Captain Wong allowed himself a small smile. "Prepare defensive protocols," he said calmly. The alien ship fired its primary weapon, a massive energy blast designed to completely destroy any technological resistance. But instead of hitting the Horizon, the energy was absorbed, transformed, and then redirected. For the first time in its history, the alien vessel experienced something it had never encountered before, a technological response it could not predict or control. The communication became confused, then angry, then something close to fear. "What are you?" the alien voice demanded. Captain Wong's response was simple. "We are humans, and we are not asking for your permission to explore." The artifact continued to pulse. Its quantum circuits were doing something extraordinary. They were learning, adapting, transforming the Horizon's entire technological infrastructure in moments. Space around them rippled. The alien ship began to retreat, its perfect calculations suddenly thrown into chaos by something it could not understand. The first encounter was over, but something much larger was just beginning. Humanity had just taken its first step into a much larger, much more complex universe. The Mars research base trembled. Jay Park watched in disbelief as the artifact they had discovered began to reshape itself, quantum circuits expanding beyond any known technological understanding. Inside the underground facility, massive holographic displays flickered with complex mathematical sequences. The artifact was no longer just an object. It was becoming something alive, something aware. Dr. Hai Kim's voice shook as she monitored the readings. "It's activating a network," she whispered. "Something massive." Beneath the red Martian surface, massive metallic structures began to emerge. They were not buildings or simple machines. They were starship components, ancient and powerful, hidden for thousands of years. The first ship activated with a sound that was part mechanical pulse, part living energy. Its quantum drives hummed with a power that could reshape entire star systems. The hull was made of a material that seemed to breathe, shifting between solid and quantum states. Captain Sung Wong received the transmission from Mars. His eyes widened as he realized what was happening. The artifact they had discovered was not just a piece of technology. It was a key to an entire hidden fleet. Massive hangar doors beneath the Martian surface began to open. One by one, starships emerged, each one larger and more complex than the last. They were not human designs. They were not alien designs. They were something completely different. The first ship, which the research team would later name Genesis, moved with a precision that defied current understanding of physics. Its quantum shields could absorb entire energy weapon attacks. Its propulsion system could cross star systems in moments. Back on Earth, military and scientific leaders watched in shock. Satellite feeds showed the impossible. A fleet of advanced starships rising from Mars, each one more powerful than anything humanity had ever created. The artifact continued its work. It was not just activating ships. It was uploading complex strategic protocols, ancient navigation systems, and defensive technologies that had been waiting for thousands of years. Jay noticed something strange happening to the ships. They were adapting, learning. Each moment, their systems became more integrated, more intelligent. "They're alive," Hai said, her voice a mixture of fear and excitement. "These ships are more than machines." The quantum circuits of the artifact began connecting with each ship. Information flowed like living energy, transforming each vessel into something beyond simple technology. On the horizon, Captain Wong watched the live feeds. The first ship moved with a grace that suggested intelligence. It was not just a machine following programmed instructions. It was thinking, calculating, preparing. Military sensors around Earth and Mars tracked the fleet's movement. But these ships moved in ways that defied traditional tracking. They could appear and disappear, shift between quantum states, become invisible, and then suddenly manifest with devastating precision. The artifact pulsed one final time. Its work was complete. An entire fleet of advanced starships now waited, ready to be unleashed. Humanity had just discovered that they were not alone. And they were definitely not weak. The ancient fleet had awakened. And nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same. Captain Wong's communication broke the silence. "Prepare for first quantum jump," he said quietly. The ships responded, not with mechanical precision, but with something closer to anticipation, something alive. The first ship, Genesis, moved forward. Its quantum drives created a ripple in space itself. Stars seemed to bend around its hull. Somewhere in the vast darkness of space, something was watching. Something that had waited a very long time was about to be challenged. The first alien outpost never saw it coming. Genesis dropped out of quantum space with impossible precision, its shields absorbing massive defensive weapon systems like they were nothing more than raindrops. Captain Sung Wong watched the tactical display. One by one, alien defensive systems collapsed, not through brutal force but through an intelligence that predicted and neutralized every possible response. The quantum ships moved like living creatures. They didn't just attack, they understood. Each movement was a complex calculation that anticipated the enemy's next 1,000 potential actions. J. Park monitored the communication systems. The alien transmissions became increasingly panicked. Their perfect technological superiority was being dismantled piece by piece. "They cannot comprehend what's happening," Hai observed, her fingers tracking the battle's quantum signatures. Entire alien fleet sectors began to crumble, not through destruction, but through complete technological neutralization. The human ships didn't just defeat the enemy, they completely rewrote their operational systems. One alien commander's transmission broke through. "What are you?" The voice was no longer confident, it was afraid. Captain Wong's response was simple. "We are humans, and we are not asking for permission anymore." The quantum ships created defensive bubbles that could absorb entire weapon systems. Energy attacks simply disappeared, converted into usable power for the human fleet. Genesis moved through alien defensive lines like a quantum ghost. It could be everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. Each movement was a complex dance of technological possibilities that the aliens could not predict or counter. Research data showed something extraordinary. The ships were learning. Each battle made them more intelligent, more adaptive. They were evolving in real time, turning the entire conflict into a massive computational problem that they continuously solved. Alien communication networks collapsed, not through brute force but through complex quantum infiltration that rewrote their entire communication infrastructure. Military strategists on Earth watched in absolute amazement. These were not just ships. They were a new form of technological life. The first major alien administrative center fell within hours, not through massive destruction but through a complete technological takeover that left their systems intact, but completely under human control. Jay noticed something fascinating. The quantum ships were not just fighting. They were collecting information, learning, understanding. They're studying, he told Hai. Every battle is a learning experience. Alien leadership began emergency meetings, but their communication systems were already compromised. Every strategy, every discussion was being monitored and analyzed by the quantum fleet. Genesis continued its systematic dismantling of alien military infrastructure. But it wasn't about destruction. It was about demonstration, showing a technological capability that was so far beyond current understanding that it seemed like magic. I tracked the quantum signatures. They're not just defeating the enemy, she said quietly. They're rewriting the entire technological paradigm of galactic conflict. Captain Wong understood. This wasn't just a battle. This was a complete transformation of how technological species would interact. The quantum ships moved with a precision that suggested something more than artificial intelligence. They moved with something closer to intuition, something alive. Alien defensive lines collapsed one after another, not through overwhelming force, but through a complete understanding and neutralization of their technological systems. By the time the first major campaign ended, the alien leadership realized something terrifying. Humanity was no longer a species, to be controlled or dismissed. They were a new force in the galaxy, unpredictable, intelligent, transformative, and they were just getting started. Genesis completed its first major campaign. The quantum drives hummed with a power that suggested this was only the beginning. The Galactic Council chamber fell silent. Representatives from dozens of alien civilizations watched as Yoon Lee, the human diplomatic envoy, stepped forward. Her presence was different. Not just human, but something more. The quantum technologies that had reshaped human civilization were evident in her every movement. She carried with her the technological and diplomatic power of an entirely new kind of civilization. "We are not here to conquer," she said simply. "We are here to transform." Behind her, holographic displays showed the remarkable changes that had occurred in just months. Entire alien technological systems had been peacefully upgraded. Communication networks that had been isolated for millennia now worked together seamlessly. The quantum ships that had defeated the old galactic order were now helping rebuild. They were not weapons of war, but tools of reconstruction. Each ship worked with local civilizations, helping them develop technologies that had been suppressed for generations. Jay Park and Hai Kim watched from a nearby monitoring station. The artifact that had started everything continued to pulse quietly, its quantum circuits still expanding and learning. Captain Sung Wong stood beside them, reviewing diplomatic protocols that were rewriting centuries of galactic interaction. The BOM. Alien civilizations that had once been oppressors were now being offered a choice. Not conquest but cooperation. Not destruction but transformation. Quantum communication networks began connecting species that had never spoken to each other. Cultural exchanges happened instantaneously. Knowledge that had been locked away for thousands of years began to flow freely. "We are offering a new way," Yoon Lee continued. "Not human dominance, but collective progress." The quantum ships demonstrated something revolutionary. They could adapt to any technological system, helping each civilization develop at its own pace. No more forced uniformity. No more technological suppression. Alien representatives began to understand. This was not an invasion. This was an invitation to something entirely new. Scientific databases opened. Trade routes that had been closed for centuries suddenly became available. Species that had been isolated could now communicate, trade, and grow together. The artifact continued its work. It was more than a piece of technology. It was a bridge between civilizations. Captain Wong noticed how the quantum ships were changing. They were no longer just military vessels. They had become ambassadors, teachers, connectors of worlds. Jay tracked the quantum signatures. They're creating a living network, he told Hai. Not just a communication system. A living, breathing connection between civilizations. The galactic map began to change. No more rigid borders. No more isolated territories. Instead, a complex, interconnected web of possibilities. Yun Li's final words echoed through the council chamber. We are not here to rule. We are here to help everyone grow. The quantum ships hummed in agreement. Their quantum drives pulsed with an energy that suggested hope, possibility. A future where technology served life, not controlled it. Alien civilizations, that had been enemies for millennia, began to see each other differently. The quantum network created by the human ships showed them their shared potential. Genesis, the first quantum ship, moved quietly through space. No longer a weapon of war, but a symbol of what was possible when technology was guided by understanding and compassion. The transformation was complete, but it was also just beginning. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy. They had invited it to become something more, and everything was about to change. The quantum drives continued to pulse, quietly, hopefully, waiting for the next stage of a journey that had only just begun.